Good night, everyone. Before I tell you why I have my face painted like this, I would like to tell you my story. My name is Alejandro Castelar. Mi nombre es Alejandro Castelar. And my story goes back to when my dad left my mother. My mother had just also recently lost her mother as well, so she was already going through a lot. Struggling to take care of 2 kids, pay the rent, pay the bills. My mother continued to look for a job back in Mexico. And one of those days, that my mom was looking for a job, my brother and I were left with a neighbor. And my brother and I decided to go outside and play. He climbed a tree and he later fell. He cracked his skull wide open. The next time I saw him, he was bald and he had a big old scar across his head. He didn't say much. As my mother continued to struggle to pay bills, and now she has this other bill of the hospital, she nearly found it impossible for us to even stay there or even sustain ourselves. So we decided to move to the United States because they had also told my mother as my brother developed, he would most likely start having seizures in his teenage years. As we came to the United States, me and my brother were enrolled and he was doing just fine. I was later diagnosed with dyslexia. And as I remember, I was being pulled out of class, getting tested, and I continued to fail, and I was falling behind. I couldn't really make friends because of the fact that I was either being tutored or I was just being isolated because I was put in special ed classes all the time, switched back and forth. It would just take me a lot longer for me to learn something than an average kid would my age. As I continued going to school and continued to fall behind, I was really starting to get bullied a lot because of my sexual identity. A lot of kids noticed it before I did, and I was called names, I was pushed around. It got to the point where I even got followed home and got beaten. So I started getting really depressed. Continued getting bullied, my pants were pulled down in the middle of the playground. I decided to continue. My mom was going to work, sustain me and my brother, because that's what she thought was right, but I couldn't really talk to her about all the problems that I was having in school. And all of this really affected me, not just socially, in school, everything that it did. It was just always constantly going in my head. Later on, as I continued to graduate on time in high school, I was coming home from dinner with a friend. We were stopped at a checkpoint, and I got arrested for the simple fact that my only identification was a Mexican matricular. They proceeded to rip my friendship braces that my friends had just made. Instead of asking me to take them off, they grabbed the knife and I just saw the beads spill across the floor. I remember that night, going from jail to jail, being terrified each time they put on the plastic glove to check us for any weapons. I remember feeling so violated. Like, what did I do? I was later put into a room as big as a bathroom, full of 50 men. Some were missing shoes, ripped clothes, dirt over their faces, and looked at me like, what am I doing there? I also got a chance to look at some other kids and old women ranging from like 84 years old and a girl that was only 7, put all in a room as well, separated from us. Luckily, I did get out the next day, but that was because of deferred action. And that was also because of an organization that helped me out, with the help of my friends and family. But it didn't really end there, as I continued to help out the organization that helped me out. I later found out that I did sign my self-deportation papers. And ever since I could remember, this was my home. What was I gonna do in a country that I really didn't grow up in a language that I have to relearn, that I already struggle in my own language, which I call English? I felt like I had no other choice. So I took what was given to me and I had to marry a woman. It was one of the hardest things that I ever done. I remember feeling disgusted, not because of her. I felt disgusted within myself because I had to lie about my sexual orientation in order for me to survive and stay in this country. So the reason why I continue the work that I do and I paint my face like this is because I want to shine a light on this issue, that people think, that people just come here for pleasure. Just because, oh, the American dream, this and that. We come here to survive. We come here because our kids fell from a tree. In order for us to search an opportunity to continue to grow. And my face is painted like this because of the fact that I continue to see all these deaths go around the border. People committing suicide because of who they are. And later on this night, I can walk off this stage and take this off. But what would happen to all those parents that lost their kids because of a simple fact of their documentation or who they are? Thank you, that's my story.